How's it going, Tana?
Good, how are you?
I'm okay. I mean, I've been better. I know last week we unpacked my entire car accident, so I'm still working through car accident related BS.
Not fun. I got Botox this week and it just makes me feel so good. Like
Say
that's
more.
fucked up, but
I don't
I
know.
just am nicer. I'm a nicer person when I
They
have money on my face.
they say there's like a mental health component
There is.
that I forget who it was that was studying this, but there was like a psychiatrist that was talking about people that felt like people didn't like them. I think that was how it went. Don't quote me on this. We could ask Google for the actual report, but there's like a study about Botox as a mental health treatment because people who have like 11s and like lines here that look like they scowl all the time
Hmm.
interpret people's reactions to them a certain way, and that when they got Botox and that like went away, that they then perceived that people like liked them more,
Yeah.
and that it
Oh,
actually
very
helped.
interesting.
Yeah, it actually helped them like overcome like mental health things. There was like a whole thing about insurance coverage related to that, right? Like if your psychiatrist prescribes it to you for this reason. But then also when you look in the mirror, like you look less tired, less angry, whatever, and then your own self-perception also gets better. It's fascinating.
Yeah, that's so funny. I'm way more vain and less I'm very shallow with that. There's no depth. It's more just like I am a better person. It might be the mirror thing. Like when I wake up in the morning, I don't look like so tired, but I am a better person when I spend money on my face. But if I could get insurance coverage for RBF, that would be sick. And I should do that.
Yeah.
It's only been a couple of days, so I'm not fully frozen yet, but I did like try to make a face at my kids this morning when one of them asked for something crazy for breakfast, like the pirate's booty, like rice puff cheese situations that are like a healthy version of Cheez-Its, basically. And I went to like do the 11 thing, the scowl, and it wouldn't move. I was like, ah, shoot,
You can't make funny faces. I
darn
did
it.
I did see a thing on another podcast, on a triathlon podcast. They made like a funny clip of it where this guy, his wife is a dermatologist, and she convinced him to get Botox. And when you
Sure.
ride your bike for a triathlon, if you ride a TT bike, you're like bent forward. And he's like,
Mm-hmm.
he's like, I didn't realize, because he went and got it. He's like, I didn't realize after that getting Botox would impact my ability to see when riding an arrow on the bike. He's like, he didn't realize that he crinkled his forehead to be able
Oh,
to
to
like
like,
look up the road. And now he couldn't crinkle his forehead, so he couldn't see when he's in the arrow position. And I was like, that's
yeah,
insane.
that that makes a lot of sense. It
Yeah.
so I usually get it like on my forehead and like around my eyes, like on the sides to like look more awake. But I only get it once a year. It's once a year. What I've learned is like I should do it more than that because it makes me very much more go with the flow.
Because people can't read your facial expressions or
I don't know. It's
uh,
just like I feel like less of a beast when I wake up in the morning.
it's funny. I've never done it.
Um,
I'm 44. I've never done it. So
oh, I like it's not for everybody, but damn, it makes me feel good, you know?
the other story I'll tell really quick related to Botox is that somebody was telling me that a friend of theirs had gone to get Botox and then went for a massage right after,
Oh yeah,
and
don't do that.
laying in the massage table like fucked up
Nope.
her eyebrows, like
Yeah, you don't do that.
smushed her. Yeah. Yep.
They tell you like you can't lay down for like 4 hours after you get it.
Like at all,
Because yeah, you can't lay down. You also can't do anything that's going to make you sweat.
but just for that day.
Yeah, for 24 hours. So like if you get it at 1 o'clock, you can't do anything that's going to make you sweat until like 1 o'clock the next day. You
Interesting.
also shouldn't drink as much caffeine before because it's like it makes you like bleed or bruise easier. I don't remember. I don't know. I had her do it like on my jawline too this time, which was new. So we'll see how that goes.
Curious. We'll see. I think you look great without it, by the way. I don't, it's
Well,
fine.
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
It makes me feel better. So
Yes.
it's expensive acupuncture for my face, even if it's fake. It's fine.
I don't think it's fake. I mean, it obviously does something.
I
Yeah.
mean, clearly, looks like you could
Yeah.
ice skate on my forehead this morning when I woke up. I was like, holy shit. But yeah, it makes me feel good. And so I'm having a good week this week because of that.
Awesome.
All right.
Well,
Topic for the week.
bef before we do the topic, let's introduce the podcast since we forgot
Oh,
that, I
yeah.
think, last week.
I keep
So
forgetting that.
if you are new here, welcome. This is Tana and I's podcast called Enneagram Adventure, where we literally, you just heard us talk about Botox, where we talk about life and all kinds of things through the lens of the Enneagram. Some weeks are more Enneagram, some weeks are more like development. There might even be a little psychology flavor. We are not psychologists, but we do work in a people business. And we are both IEQ9 certified Enneagram coaches with that Enneagram tool, which we would love to talk to you about if you have interest.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add?
Enneagram measures your core motivation rather than your behavior. So different than other assessments you may have taken, predictive index, things like that. But yeah, let's get into it. My weekly disclaimer.
So, topic. This week's topic is a little bit of a mismatch, not mismatch, mismash, MASH is what I'm trying to say. Like we're mashing some things together. We had talked about wanting to talk about unmet needs and how that shows up for different Enneagram types, what the behaviors might be that are associated with that. But as Tana and I were talking about that, it reminded me of the childhood triangle thing, which I heard about on another podcast. And there's 3 questions in this triangle to look at, and I just thought it was fascinating and like how that plays into things like unmet needs, patterns, personality development, all the things. And so the first side of the triangle is friends, second side safety, last side reward. And so on the friend side is as a child, what did it take for you to make and keep friends? On the safety side, what did you need to do or avoid to feel safe? And then on the reward side, what did you need to do to feel love or to feel rewarded? Sorry, I think I said love. I meant reward. Love is a reward. So it falls into that last side of the triangle. So I think it'll be super fascinating to talk about unmet needs in addition to that. Anything you want to add?
I would just add the 3 kind of questions that came up when we were talking about unmet needs. And the unmet needs questions are similar, but different, a little bit of a different lens. It's the am I safe? Am I loved? Do I matter? It's just like a different spin on it, but this is kind of how we arrived at the topic for today.
Do we want to go through it as by number, or do we want to unpack
Yeah,
those?
I think let's go through it by number. Maybe starting with one of us might be able to help people kind of hear and think through theirs before we get to their number, hopefully. Unless you're a 2 or a 5. Sorry about it. Yeah. So why don't us off?
Oh, you want to start with 5s?
I do. We never start
gonna,
with 5s.
I mean, that's not necessarily true, but we don't
Would
often
like
start with 5s, maybe.
us to reference the tapes? Could we reference the tapes, please?
Tapes. We could. You want me to? Just kidding. Starting with 5s, when I think about my own sort of development of my personality and becoming a 5. And I play through the childhood triangle. I start with safety first for me personally. And that was, what did I need to do or avoid to be safe? And I needed to avoid a volatile father in my most early years, which looks like being unseen, being quiet, out of the way, that kind of thing. As I got a little bit older and my mother remarried, the safety then became about being smart, being able to be articulate, reading the right kind of books, that doing what was expected of me, that sort of thing
What
kept me out of
age was that,
trouble.
Holly?
She remarried when I was 7.
Okay.
Yeah. Or almost 7. Yeah. Right. So then that also then like feeds into the feeling loved or the reward side, right? So I was rewarded for like doing what was asked of me, meeting the expectations of my parents, staying in line with the rules, again, reading the right books, being smart, doing the homework, showing up essentially like a little adult. So that also got me praise, reward, love, respectful of other people's time, blah, blah, blah. Then on the friends side, that is like murkier for me because in the chaos of how I was brought up, I was homeschooled from 5th grade up to, I went back to public school in high school, but only for 1 semester. So the friends thing was like a little harder because there was like certain limitations and things like that for my family. But in my mind, what gained me friends and kept friends was like quality time with them. So it was like showing up for people, doing things with people. Again, going with the flow, that sort of thing versus like being like loud or boisterous or whatever. But again, I also kept friends by being the one that knew all the stuff about whatever was like the interest of the moment, like being researched and or you know, being able to help being the like I could help you write your research paper or
Yep.
I knew all of the songs from the like popular band at the time and could like quote lyrics and movie
Mhm.
scripts and things like that. So that's how I think about like keeping friends. And I think that lines up a lot with like the development of how you become a 5 too. All the
Mhm.
reward was around like my knowledge and blah blah blah. All the safety was about like being quiet and unseen. Makes sense. And then in terms of like unmet needs, what you and I talked about a little bit before we started recording was for me, I think about it in interpersonal relationships. I know you could look at it through like a work, like leadership lens as well, but I think about it in terms of what happens for me if I'm not getting what I need, like from Aaron, for example. And there's like a few different ways you could look at it. One thing that could happen is conflict. It could result in some sort of conflict, which becomes the logic bully, which we've talked about on other episodes. So if you want to learn about the logic bully, maybe go to the 5 episode and we can unpack that. But it's a little bit like the pattern that I go through is with like I'm not getting what I need, so I withdraw more or I double down on doing my own research and like go to find my own information or solve my own problem or whatever it might be. Yeah. Is
Mhm.
that what you were hoping for?
Yeah, I think so. I think it gives a good overview and maybe will help with some more like thought-provoking moments for people who are maybe still on the journey of figuring out maybe how they became the number that they are as they try to get more integrated. That's interesting. I'm kind of having a little bit of reflection while you're talking, and from a 2 perspective, remind me of the 3 questions. It's the
What did you need to do to make and keep friends? What did you need to
huh,
do or avoid to feel safe? And what did you need to do to get rewarded or love?
okay, okay. I'm very forgetful, so you're gonna have to remind me of this probably, but
That's okay.
so what did I have to do to make and keep friends? I have always been a very social person. I've never had a hard time making friends or keeping friends. What I reflected on as you were talking is that what I what I have kind of learned, and I think this happens for most people, but I think what's sticking out are these like very pivotal moments in these friend relationships where something happened or shifted in a way that like the relationship transitioned or stopped. So in my younger years, I had a lot of really close family friends where like our parents were together a lot. So then we were inevitably together a lot. And I spent a lot of time with those friends because my parents were like kind of living their best life. Like they did everything they could with everything that they had. It was just that at that time of their life, they still wanted to have fun. And so these other family friends I was with were kind of in the same boat as me, right? Our parents were all very much like doing the same things. So, very similar environments where we kind of made do with like what was around. Like, if we were at the bar, we would bowl. If we were at like somebody's house, it was easy to put ourselves in different spaces away from the adults. I never remember hanging out with the adults when that was going on. It was always this like little posse of us kids that were like all around the same age. And so that was always very easy. And just by proximity, I think like social subtype really comes up for me of it immediately. Like I knew what that group of people needed from me. Therefore, I knew how to keep those friendships depending on the group that I was with, you know? So then as I get older, those, and I'm more independent where I don't need to be with my parents all the time. Like I am free to be on my own. Those friendships look different, but it ties into a little bit of the things that I needed to, like, what did I need to do to feel, loved, safe, that kind of stuff. Where I had a group of friends that were not in the same sport as me, right? And the things that I had to do to feel safe and loved were to like perform, whether that be like be playing a sport in a competitive way or like doing things for other people. So when I had this other group of friends that wasn't doing that same sport, I gravitated away from that group of friends. So I kind of got in with this other group of friends that made me feel it was a little bit more efficient because I was like spending time with them at practice and I was spending time with them like at tournaments on the weekends and things like that. Um, but those were the moments, and I've talked about this with Brandon a bit, where I would take all of my aggression out playing that sport. And that was also my time where I had like this moment of individual time with one of my parents to or from game or practice where then they would be like proud of me, right? So I was receiving love. I was feeling safe in that moment. And so if I like transition over from friend to family, I needed to do things for others to receive love. The space was so chaotic sometimes that I couldn't have needs. And if I did, it was like a big deal. So that didn't make me feel safe to have a need. So a lot of the time it was spent doing things for other people or withdrawing and getting that feeling of love from someone else by doing something else for that group of friends as an example. But that's where it does get a little bit murky for me because I spent more time with my friends during those real like years where you're really developing into your type than I did with my core family unit as a whole.
You think, though, with what you needed to do to stay safe in your family unit, it then like reaffirmed what you were doing to get and keep friends?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Because I was getting and keeping friends by also not bothering my parents. Like I was getting that affirmation and that those things from my group of friends, not from my family.
Yeah. So did your group of friends give you more safety than like more sense of safety than your home life?
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. I had more of a sense of safety, particularly in my friends' homes. I was I remember, gosh, like one of my closest childhood friends growing up, we would like have sleepovers constantly on school nights. Like I would be there for days at a time. And
Which
it's like this super close family friend that's like an inch away from being family. But then something shifted in that friendship where then that household became more chaotic than my own.
whatever was in that family's life, whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then I pulled away from that person because I just couldn't, I didn't want to be a part of it.
How old were you when that happened?
I was probably 9 or 10. I was probably 10. It's probably right around there.
Yeah. But in those super formative years, you were with them and that felt more stable and
Oh yeah,
good.
like
Yeah.
100%. So when my needs are unmet, like if I don't feel safe, if I don't feel seen, loved, appreciated, any of that, then what happens is I go seeking that validation elsewhere and or I'm anticipating needs. So if it happens with Landon, I'm now in a secure enough relationship where I know like nothing bad is going to happen to me, right? So then I start trying to anticipate needs and then it becomes so much more annoying for him because he's like, "Stop.
That's not what I wanted. Yeah.
Like that's not what I wanted and like why are you so anxious?" Like that's not what I said, that's not what I meant. That's not you know, in his super 8 vibe. And then I'm like, "All right, I'm just trying to be helpful." But it comes from me feeling like I don't have some sort of connection with him. Or if it's been rough with the kids, right? Like if behavior-wise they're not listening and I feel like a bad mom or I feel any one of those things that makes me feel uneasy, then I start to anticipate needs that are mostly incorrect.
So we've done 2 and 5. Let's see how we can.
Should we do 8? Should we do it by center, like triads again?
Yeah, so do 891, 34, 67,
I was
six,
thinking
seven,
258.
258. Oh,
Oh
those
God.
ones.
Now it's 41. Now it's
Okay.
41.
I don't know.
41.
I don't know what that means. What are they?
41.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I get called a big back every day of my life in my own house.
Well, what is that?
I don't know. I think they just like say it, but I think it's supposed to mean like that you quite literally have a big back.
You're an average size human being, Tana. I don't think you have a big back.
Thank you. Thank you for making me feel better about that. But mm-hmm. Yes. So
Okay, so you want to
8?
do the 258. I forget what
Yeah,
the other ones are. We'll
258.
go. But yes, 258.
So
8.
8,
Yeah. You live with one, so why don't you
I
kick off the
do.
8?
He, at some point in his life, the 8 that I live with, either felt betrayed, ignored, or controlled, or all three of them. And I believe we kind of touched on this in the last one a little bit, but requirement of integrity and like justice seems to really stick out. It's hard to tell for me from I don't know what happened at a younger age to the 8 that I live with, but I somewhere along the line he felt one of those things or all of those things. And in a big enough way that pushed him to be one specific number of an 8, and he is a strong 8. So, what makes him feel safe is loyalty, consistency, and conflict. Like, honestly,
You think he thought he made and kept friends through conflict?
I, you know what's shocking to me? I still to this day have never seen a group of friends that is harder on one another than his group of friends. That is all they do is they just roast each other all day, every day.
Maybe, right? Like if I believed that I made and kept friends by that sort of
Like
like
banter. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Not vulnerability. Like vulnerability to this group of people is very new. I'm learning a little bit more about the things that they will talk about with each other in more of like a one-on-one setting. And my 8 husband actually tends to be the person that like gets that information shared with him. He is so loyal, he wouldn't say a word about any of it to anyone. If you need a secret kept, that man will keep a secret until the day that he dies. He doesn't like there are some things where he like I'll even ask him about something. He's like, I can't tell you that.
Oh,
And that like part of it is a control thing, I think, too, though, because I'll be like, dude, come on, like, come on. It's me.
yeah.
Come on.
And then he's like, "Now I'm not going to tell you just 'cause."
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly what he says to me. It drives me up a freaking wall.
Now it's just to prove a fucking point.
Yes, and it's so annoying. It's so freaking annoying.
Oh, it is funny though.
Can't unload a
Uh,
dishwasher, can keep a secret. Just I digress, but they are so hard on each other, and he's had the same group of friends forever. Like, when you're in, you're in. You're in for life. Blood contract or something. I don't know what they
something.
did way
Yeah.
back when they were like 7 years old. These are all the same dudes. And
Crazy.
so we want to, like, I'm friends with some of their significant others' wives. And we want to make that TikTok now of like the how it started. And then you like bring the wives in and then you bring the kids in. Cause now there's like there's like 100 of us, it feels like. But they all like played sports together. They all now still golf together. They stay in touch no matter what. And So the friend thing is interesting also though, because his dad was always a coach. So all these guys played baseball. My husband's dad coached them from age 7 until high school. Like he's the Mr. Feeney of baseball for this group of friends. Mr. Feeney traveled like all the way to college
Yes, he
with
did.
Topanga and Corey, you know? So it's interesting that there's that dynamic and all the parents are also friends and still friends.
This also feels a little bit facilitated by small town USA. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but
Yeah.
it sounds like we have a lot of people who like loved where they grew up, stayed where they grew up, maintained friendships where they grew up, which is like different than like the situation I'm in, for example, where when I was 11, my parents moved
Hmm.
us halfway across the country,
Hmm.
right? And then shortly after that, we moved again, like to a place where it was like a whole new
Hmm.
situation. So like if you move around a lot, like cuz that sounds amazing to me, but if you were in a family that moved around a lot, like your experience could be so different than that. Like the friends might not even be close to the same.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like these, like most of them didn't really, I mean, they all went to college in different places, but I mean, one of them lives in Colorado, another one lives in Michigan, a couple live in
They've
the like Milwaukee area,
sure. That's
but they all
incredible that
yell at each
they've
other over video games like
that's
every
funny.
night.
That's funny that they've maintained the friendship across that distance and time. That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, they've all been in each other's weddings, like crazy. So, as hard as they are on each other, like you mess with one, you mess with all of them.
Yeah. It's a little bit of the like I can pick on my brother, but you can't pick on my brother.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 So, I don't know, but another 8 that you and I know, and I've said this on the podcast a couple of times, she believes that she became an 8 because she needed to demand attention. So she wasn't getting love and didn't feel safe unless she was getting attention.
Yeah. I would also say in terms of the eights feeling safe and is that at some point likely there was an adult in their life or a situation in their life where the vulnerability and the big feelings and the whatever was punished or discouraged or something in such a way that then the response to that was, I now have to be strong. It's not okay to be
Mhm.
seen as, a little kid isn't going to know the term vulnerable, but whatever it is around those feelings where they like flip that switch of like, okay, I have to be strong. Can't show my feelings.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that would play into also the like safety and reward side of I'm kept safe by not expressing my feelings, and then there was likely some reward related to like you're so strong, you're so independent, you make great decisions, something like that.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. What's the next triad? It's
Yeah.
9, what is it? 9, 3. Yep. Oh yeah, 3, 6, 9. Damn girl, fine.
Yes.
I forgot.
Yes. Yes.
Boom, shaka, shaka, tell me one more time.
Okay, so which one do you want to do?
Let's do 9.
9.
3, 6, 9.
369. So nines, since I live with a nine, the motivation for nines is around keeping the peace, not rocking the boat, a little bit of being unseen. I th- not again, we've got another number. It's about not expressing needs because if you express your needs, there might be conflict. And Aaron
Mhm.
and I haven't unpacked this specifically for his life, but what I can say in terms of him as a nine and other nines that I know is that it was a lot about being easy, go with the flow, right? So it's what made them safe was the lack of conflict. Conflict
Yep. Mhm.
was inherently not safe. So therefore we avoid that. And we try to go with the flow, be overly accommodating, right? Because that keeps us out of trouble
Mhm.
and keeps us safe. And then again, likely the reward comes from the place of, wow, you're so easy. You just get along with everyone. Like, right. And the
Yeah.
affirmation of, right. You could also think about do unto others as you would have done to yourself, or however that saying goes from
Mhm.
church, right? Aaron grew up in a Catholic household where those sorts of things would have been talked about a lot, right? Like turn the other cheek and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then in terms of making and keeping friends, we've talked about before his ability to fit in with any group, right? So making and keeping friends would, again, still in that same 9 kind of ethos of I I listen to everybody, I see
Mhm.
their side of the story, I don't challenge them in any way, therefore people like me. What happens with him when his needs are not getting met, we've talked about this before on the podcast too, but we both withdraw, right? So it's like sort of like go off to your own corner of the house.
Mhm.
So there's that. But then also there can become like passive aggressive, right? Like needs aren't being met. So now we're like edgy and a little snappy and,
Mhm.
you know, kind of getting upset about things maybe that we wouldn't normally get upset about. That sort of thing.
Mhm. All of
Yeah.
that tracks with a
Yeah.
9 for me.
Yeah. Because your
My
sister's a
sister is
9.
a
So
9.
yeah.
Yeah. My sister's a 9, so that's generally how I've experienced her in those environments. It was very much like be easy, go with the flow, be a little adult. She also it's an interesting dynamic because my sister's 8 years older than me. So, quite literally, when things were chaotic or whatever, she would just get in her car and leave.
Ultimate
She'd be like,
withdraw.
"Bye,
Yeah.
I'm in high school, I can leave."
Yeah.
So, that was always interesting to see her withdraw in, like, the biggest of ways. I mean, she dropped out of college and moved to Puerto Rico. Like,
Love it. Yeah.
yeah,
When's her
yeah.
birthday?
August. August 8th.
Ah, she Leo.
Mhm. Mhm.
Man, I should be friends with your sister. I love a Leo.
You would love my sister. My sister would love you.
Yeah.
I might not be either of your best friends anymore if the two of you meet. So I don't know if I can let that happen.
Funny.
Okay, 1, right? No,
1,
369.
369. Yeah. 369.
So
3. So I know your second highest number is 3, but I think at a super high level, because we might legit run out of time, guys. At a super high level,
there are some things behavior-wise that I was definitely rewarded for with attention and like words of affirmation that got me that. Like if I was super competitive and super tough in a game or I that the car ride home was very like, wow, you did a great job. You played so hard. So and so next to me was saying this about you. So and so next to me was saying this about you. It was their external. I've worked on this with Brandon a lot, where it was the compliments were never like directly from them. It was always that person next to me said this. Like, that competitive nature was always rewarded pretty highly, but it was never I thought you blah, 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 blah. It was,
Yeah.
I heard this other parent next to me say blankety blank, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So the achievement or the whatever. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Threes would just like what you talked about, right? In terms of you were like recognized or whatever for your competitiveness. It would be that same idea. What kept them
Mm-hmm.
safe was their achievements, right? When I
Mm-hmm.
achieve things, I stay good. Like, so you can imagine in your example, if you did not achieve, then did you get in trouble? I'm not saying you did, but for example, with a three, like, was there trouble? Like, did you get in trouble? Were you like your dad, like armchair quarterbacking, like every move you made in a game or something like that? And so therefore you like doubled down on how do I like do really well so that I don't have that criticism for what I missed. I have heard other threes talk about, to your point of being talked about. I recently did a Enneagram session with a three, and she talked about she believes her threeness came from exactly what you said of like other people, her family talking about the grandkids, like her grandparents or
Mm-hmm.
aunts and uncles. And like for you to receive attention in the household that you had to be doing good things or exciting things or achieving things, or you didn't get talked about. And if you didn't get
Mm-hmm.
talked about, there was like no recognition and reward from the family.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much what you,
Correct.
yeah. So that's like the reward
Correct.
side. And then the keeping friends would be like, I achieve these things and then people want to be around me because I've achieved, I'm successful, I'm the star player, I'm the, drive the fancy car, whatever, whatever. Make a
I
lot of
was gonna
money.
say it might also be like that vanity piece for them of I'm wearing, if you think about a high
Yeah.
school age kid
Three.
that's like, I'm
Yeah.
wearing, you know, God, at
Jordans
the time, I'm
and
gonna date
blah, blah,
myself.
blah.
Abercrombie, Hollister,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember that phase as a kid.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you're doing those things, then you belong with a certain crowd of people, and that feels safe.
Yeah. Yes. When threes are not getting their needs met, when those kind of that pattern gets broken, they're
Mm-hmm.
not getting their needs met. They, I think, also become apathetic. That's one thing that can show up. Or they can like double down. Like, let me prove my value to you. Don't you see the value I bring? Don't you see like the work, the how hard at whatever it is? And like, why are you not rewarding me for this? I have seen like threes where it's like they won't give up the fight. They won't give up the art. Like they just are like, no, no, look, here's the thing. This is what success looks like. I think it's often if they don't feel like they're being recognized, then it's like, I'm going to prove to you my success.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you want to do six? And then we'll have to do the other three a different time?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So sixes, this is an interesting one because safety probably, I mean, I think safety trumps all, but in this number, right, like the basis of it is almost safety first because sixes often kind of believe that the world is inherently unsafe and then everything
Mm-hmm.
they're doing is trying to mitigate risk.
Yep.
So if we think about what kept a six safe and would have like created this, it is in the preparation and the thoughtfulness and the planning, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
likely that, didn't get in trouble when they kind of, well, just like a lot of numbers, acted like a little adult, had all their shit together all the time and didn't forget
Mm-hmm.
things and planned ahead and remembered details. Maybe they always, maybe they were the kid this is going to making friends and stuff, but maybe they were the kid that always had the cool pens or pencils or extra things that other kids needed, and then they shared them and they got rewarded, right? Because, you know, they had all the things and were able to provide that for other people.
Yes,
Yeah.
one of my best friends, who's my cousin, is a 6, and as a kid, I would describe her like, she was the first one to get a cell phone, and so we were always together, so therefore, like, she could provide that. I would say that what gave her safety, we grew up in a similar situation. Her parents were divorced, and ultimately she decided to move in primarily with her mom. She got very connected in with like a youth group community through her church and developed like her best friends today. She still like met through kind of that environment. And I think that's what gave her kind of that safety structure, like something consistent every Thursday. She knew she was going to go to youth group. Every Thursday, she was going to see these people. She got super close with all these people, right? And that felt safe. There was more reward for her in flexibility, which is interesting, where it wasn't a big deal for her to, you know, like not do a certain thing on a certain like there was not a ton of rigidity in her life. She was always given the benefit of the doubt. So like if a teacher were saying, "Oh, she's not doing XYZ," because she was never like super great at school, parents would be like, "Well, teacher must be the problem." And
That's, yeah.
I would tell you she definitely wings 7 with her 6. Like she's got high 7 wing energy, but she was always very prepared and she's very low maintenance. Like it's easier for her to be prepared because she's super low maintenance.
That's how she stays low maintenance, right?
Yes.
I'm prepared. I have all the things. You don't have to worry about me then.
Yes.
Yeah. One of the things I was going to say was maybe some of the sickness comes from being in a household that was super flexible and feeling like she wanted more structure.
Oh yeah, there was no structure for us, like
Yeah.
very minimal structure where we were kind of like coming and going as we
Yeah.
pleased throughout the day. At a super young age, we were on our own for the entire summer. We did not, like during the day, let anyone know where we were going to be. Like it was,
This is also very like millennial upbringing too, right? Like pre-cell
yes,
phone, like a little
yes.
bit of like the, you know, the things that I did not grow up in town. I grew up in the country, so this was not true for me, but it's like the example of like you had to be home by the time the street lights came on. Like there
Mm-hmm.
was just like the rules were just a little bit like loose and a little bit flexible, and like the structure was kind of like this kind of sort of thing because
Mm-hmm.
people weren't so connected.
We were wherever, whenever.
Yeah.
It was not like anybody was, I mean, they knew roughly where we were around dinner time, but also we would ride our bikes around the entire town. And then if we saw one of our parents' cars at the bar, we would like pop in and be like, "Hey, we're going over here."
Yeah.
So don't be wondering where we are.
For your cousin, when she's not getting her needs met now, though, like how does that show up?
She will withdraw.
Which is not
So
necessarily typical for sixes.
yeah. So it looks like for her, like if she's not getting her needs met, the first, we actually just talked about this morning. We talked on the phone this morning and she's like, it's been a week in my house. And she's like, oh crap, I broke my husband's headlamp. I was like, Well, good news, they make them every day. And I was like, also, how did you do that? And she's like, I went for a walk with my neighbor in the rain last night.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, okay. But she doubles down a little bit. Like she can get like real angsty. Like she'll snap kind of at you if you're challenging her in the moment, she's not getting her needs met. That I've seen her be like, well, hold on, let me fucking check you really quick.
Yeah. I was going to say that tracks with some other sixes I know in my life too, particularly even though it's not typical for sixes, as you were talking about that. And I was reflecting, I was thinking, yeah, there are two other sixes I know that when their needs are not getting met, they do withdraw or they self isolate,
Mm-hmm.
which feels not because they're, sixes are a compliant number. So that's not super intuitive. But yeah, I wonder if that's like all sixes. Like when I'm just gonna go or maybe that's the prepared thing of like, I'll just take care of myself.
Well, yeah, it's
Like
like
fuck
I trust me more than I trust anybody else here. So,
yeah. A little bit of like fuck off, like I don't
yeah,
need you. Let
yep,
me
I
prove
don't
to
need you.
myself I don't need you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, interesting. This might be the second time ever we haven't actually made it through all nine numbers in an episode.
Feeling yappy today.
Feeling yappy today. Also, like, whatever, car accident, concussion symptoms, like, my brain's off the rails,
Yeah,
so who knows?
yeah,
Which is super, whatever, I might edit this out, but which is also like a super weird thing to like recognize it and to be like, oh, wait, like, that is not what we were talking about. Where was I? What
yeah,
the
yeah.
fuck? I don't know. Forgive me. Okay.
Wrap us
All
up.
right.
Bring us home.
Well, this was good. And I like this topic. Maybe we should do more like this or another version of this.
Mm-hmm.
We would love to have you follow us on all the socials. We're everywhere, not Facebook. We have a brand new Substack. There's a handful of blog posts on there. So if you like to read through the information or want a different reference point, you can find those on our Substack. Please like, subscribe, comment, share, leave a review. All those things help us a ton in terms of reach. If you have questions, you want to be on an episode, if you're a 4, 1, or 7, we're super sorry we didn't cover you today. We will circle back on that. Anything else?
Sounds good. No,
All
this
right.
was great. Thanks, Holly.
Yeah. Talk to you later.
Bye.